What happens when aliens attack what they think is a defenseless mining station, only to discover it's secretly run by Earth's most elite Special Forces veterans? This is the story of Haven Cross, a remote outpost where 28 retired warriors turned a simple mining facility into an impenetrable fortress. And when an alien armada arrived expecting easy prey, they learned the hardest lesson in the galaxy. You can never truly retire a soldier. This is their story. The mining station on Kepler 442b looked ordinary. Small metal buildings dotted the red landscape, connected by walkways that gleamed under twin suns. According to official records, 30 people worked there. Miners, technicians, support staff, just regular people pulling minerals from the ground and sending them back to Earth. But the records were lying. Jake Morrison stood at the command center window, watching dust devils dance across the rocky plains. At 52 years old, his silver hair and steady eyes told a different story than his paperwork. For 20 years, he had led special operations teams through humanity's worst battles. Europa's ice fields, pirate strongholds in the asteroid belt, places where others ran, he held the line. 3 years ago, he retired, took this job as station commander. Thought his fighting days were over. He was wrong. Behind him, Sophie Grant worked at her computer station. At 38, she was quick with numbers and even quicker with tactical analysis. The paperwork said she tracked mining equipment. The truth? She had spent 15 years as a military intelligence officer, predicting enemy movements before they happened. Every single person on Haven Cross Station had a similar secret. Ben Cole, the geological surveyor, was actually a former Marine raider. Lisa Harper, their doctor, had flown Air Force rescue missions into combat zones. Carl Rodriguez maintained equipment, but his real background was Navy Special Operations, and veterans total. Warriors who had earned the right to retire somewhere quiet. No politicians, no reporters, no one asking them to be heroes again. Just honest work under alien stars, but the galaxy had other plans. Sophie noticed it first. Her fingers froze on the keyboard. She leaned closer to her screen, eyes narrowing. "Jake, we have incoming ships." Jake walked over, his relaxed posture shifting instantly. "How many?" "4 of them, coming out of faster-than-light travel, 2 million kilometers away. Broadcasting identification codes? Nothing. No signals at all. They're just sitting there." Sophie typed rapidly. "Computer doesn't recognize their design. These are not human ships." Within 5 minutes, every veteran on the station had gathered in the command center. No one panicked. No one shouted orders. Old training took over like muscle memory. Ben checked their weapons, finding rifles and explosives that seemed strange for a mining station to possess. Lisa activated backup communication systems. Carl ran diagnostics on their defense grid. The unknown ships began moving closer, circling, studying. Their hulls were unlike anything in human databases, smooth and organic looking, with sections that glowed with eerie light. They moved with clear military precision. "They're powering up weapons," Sophie said, her voice calm despite what her sensors showed. "Multiple energy signatures. Preparing to fire." Jake looked around at his crew. He saw recognition in their faces, the same thought running through every mind. Whoever these aliens were, they had made a serious mistake. They thought they were attacking a defenseless mining station. They had no idea they were about to fight some of the most dangerous soldiers humanity had ever produced. "Cut main power," Jake ordered quietly. "Make it look like we're already damaged. Ben, Lisa, get to your positions. Carl, prep the surprises in sections C and D. Sophie, coordinate from here." The lights dimmed to emergency levels. To the aliens watching from orbit, Haven Cross Station would appear to be suffering critical failures. Systems shutting down, crew panicking. The truth was very different. In the darkness, veterans moved through corridors they knew by heart, reaching weapon caches, taking defensive positions they had prepared over 3 years of careful planning. Because these soldiers hadn't really retired. They had simply been waiting, preparing, staying ready for a threat they hoped would never come. The alien ships opened fire. Energy beams tore through the station's outer sections. exactly where Jake had deliberately left the structure weak. Explosions rocked the facility. Alarms blared. To any observer, it looked like a massacre in progress, a small human outpost being destroyed by overwhelming force. But in the hidden operations center deep inside the station, Sophie watched her screens with professional detachment. Damage contained to outer shells. All critical systems intact. They're deploying boarding craft. Jake watched the tactical display. 6 small ships detached from the alien vessels and streaked toward Haven Cross. How many? 30 contacts, give or take, cutting through the hull in sections B, C, and D. Right where we want them, Ben said over the radio, his voice carrying grim satisfaction. Let them come inside, then we'll show these aliens how humans fight. The first alien soldiers cut through hull plating and entered the station. Tall figures covered in armor that reflected their ship's organic design, carrying energy weapons that hummed with power. They moved carefully but confidently into the dark corridors, searching for the humans they expected to find cowering in the depths. The corridors were empty. The station was silent except for distant alarms and the hiss of escaping air from damaged sections. The aliens advanced in professional formations, checking corners and doorways. They found nothing. Jake Morrison watched them on security monitors, counting soldiers, noting equipment. He had fought dozens of different enemies across human space, learned their tactics, exploited their weaknesses. These aliens fought well, but they had never faced anyone like him and his crew. All teams ready, he said softly into his radio. Wait for my signal. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they've already won. The aliens moved deeper into the station, away from their boarding craft, away from easy escape routes. They split up, some heading to the command center, others searching living quarters and work areas. Now, Jake said. In the darkness of Haven Cross Station, Earth's elite veterans went to work. Ben Cole moved through the ceiling ducts like a shadow. Below him, 6 alien soldiers walked through the main corridor, weapons sweeping back and forth. They were disciplined, careful, exactly what Ben expected from professional soldiers. But they were also predictable. He waited until the last alien passed directly beneath his position. Then he dropped straight down. His boots hit the floor without sound. His combat knife found the gap between helmet and chest armor before the alien could turn. The creature made a short gurgling sound and collapsed. Ben was already moving, disappearing into a side passage before the others could react. The remaining 5 aliens spun around, their weapons lighting up the corridor with energy blasts that scorched walls and melted metal. But Ben was gone, vanished into the maze of passages he had spent 3 years memorizing. 1 down in Section B, Ben reported calmly. 5 more inbound to your position, Lisa. In Section D, Lisa Harper stood in the cargo bay with 3 other veterans, watching sensors as the alien squad approached. They had prepared this room carefully over months, installing hidden controls, reinforcing certain walls while deliberately weakening others. They're taking the bait, one of her team whispered. Lisa nodded. The fake medical monitor they had set up was broadcasting false human signatures, making it look like injured people were hiding in the cargo bay. The aliens would think they had found easy targets. Frightened civilians waiting to be captured. The heavy doors opened. The alien squad rushed inside, weapons ready. They fanned out quickly, searching for the humans their sensors detected. They found empty medkits, a running monitor, no people at all. Lisa hit the emergency button. The cargo bay doors slammed shut with a thunderous bang, trapping the aliens inside. Before they could react, she activated atmospheric controls. The air began venting into space, a hurricane wind pulling everything toward the outer doors. The aliens scrambled for handholds. Their weapons fired uselessly at walls designed to withstand meteor impacts. In 30 seconds, it was over. The cargo bay was vacuum. 6 more aliens were dead. Section D clear, Lisa reported, repositioning to Section F. On the orbiting ships, the alien commanders watched their soldiers' life signs disappear one by one. They had attacked dozens of small outposts before. Overwhelmed mining stations and research bases across half a dozen star systems. It always went the same way. Quick breach, fast victory, minimal losses. This was different. This was wrong. The alien commander studied the tactical display, trying to understand what was happening. His soldiers were dying, but where was the enemy? Where were the desperate defenders making their last stand? All his sensors showed was an empty station and ghosts in the darkness. "Send the second wave," he ordered. "All remaining boarding parties. Crush them with numbers." 20 more boarding craft launched, carrying over 100 soldiers. They hit the station from multiple angles, cutting through hull plating and pouring into corridors. This time they moved faster, less carefully, trying to overwhelm defenders through sheer force. Jake Morrison watched them come, counting soldiers, calculating angles. "They're committing everything," he said to Sophie. "They want to end this fast. Can we hold?" Sophie asked, though she already knew the answer. She had served with these people for years, fought beside them in battles that made this look simple. "We've held worse," Jake replied. "Carl, collapse Section B. Ben, fall back to Checkpoint Gamma. Lisa, set up crossfire with Ben's team at Intersection 7. The veterans moved like they were dancing to music only they could hear. Where aliens expected resistance, they found empty corridors. Where they thought they saw weakness, they walked into carefully prepared kill zones. The soldiers of Haven Cross had turned their home into a weapon. Every room a potential trap. Every passage a calculated risk. Carl Rodriguez triggered explosives he had planted weeks ago. Section B's main corridor collapsed in a shower of metal and rock, cutting off the aliens' main force from their entry point. The aliens in front of the collapse suddenly realized they were trapped, surrounded, cut off from reinforcement. Ben and Lisa hit them from two sides simultaneously, rifles firing in short controlled bursts. The aliens tried to form a defensive position, but they were in a corridor with no cover, facing opponents who knew every angle, every firing line. It was a slaughter dressed up as a firefight, but the aliens were learning. The remaining squad stopped rushing forward, began moving more carefully, using scanners to map the station, looking for the hidden command center where humans were coordinating their defense. "They're adapting," Sophie warned. "Third wave is holding position at breach points, securing entry zones. They're not going to chase us anymore." Jake frowned. Smart enemies were always more dangerous than brave ones. "Time until Earth forces arrive?" 3 hours and 40 minutes, Sophie replied. Distress signal reached the nearest military base. 3 destroyers and a carrier group are burning toward us at maximum speed, 3 hours. Jake looked at his ammunition counts. Personnel status. Damage reports scrolling across screens. They had already held for 2 hours against impossible odds. But the aliens were getting smarter. His people were getting tired. "We need to make them angry again," Jake said quietly. "Make them stop thinking and start reacting." "Ben, I need you to do something stupid." Ben's voice came back immediately, carrying a hint of humor. "Stupid is my specialty, boss." "What did you have in mind?" "Take Carl and the mining charges. I want you to blow something that will make them very upset." "The refinery," Carl suggested. "Perfect. Light it up." 10 minutes later, Ben and Carl were in the refinery, surrounded by containers of refined plasma that would power Earth's faster-than-light ships for years. They set charges carefully, placed exactly right for maximum destruction. "Fire in the hole," Ben warned over the radio. Then he and Carl triggered the detonators and ran. The explosion was visible from orbit, a brilliant white flash that lit up half the planet. The refinery complex vaporized in an instant, taking a year's worth of valuable resources with it. More importantly, it killed 20 alien soldiers who had been trying to secure the facility. On the alien command ship, the commander stared at his screens in disbelief. These humans had just destroyed their own base's most valuable asset rather than let it fall into enemy hands. What kind of defenders did that? What kind of soldiers burned everything just to deny it to their enemy? He suddenly understood what he was facing. These were not frightened miners. These were not desperate civilians. These were warriors, and they were willing to turn their entire station into a funeral pyre if that was what victory required. "All units, withdraw to extraction points," the alien commander ordered. "We are leaving." But Jake Morrison wasn't done teaching lessons. "Sophie, bring the mining lasers online. The huge industrial cutting beams, supposedly destroyed in the first attack, powered up from hidden backup systems. They were designed to slice apart asteroids, to cut through solid rock. The alien boarding craft still attached to the station's hull were much softer targets. The lasers fired. 5 alien craft turned into glowing metal slag in seconds. The aliens still inside the station scrambled for their remaining ships, their organized withdrawal becoming a panicked retreat. The veterans of Haven Cross didn't pursue. They simply held their positions, professional and calm, and watched the aliens run. The alien fleet pulled back to a safe distance, regrouping, counting losses. 47 soldiers dead, 8 boarding craft destroyed, and they still hadn't taken the station. The alien commander sat in his chair, trying to make sense of what had happened. His forces had overwhelming numbers, superior technology, the element of surprise, yet somehow a small group of humans had fought them to a standstill. But then, long-range sensors showed something that changed everything. 3 human destroyers and 1 massive carrier dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Right at the edge of weapons range, the cavalry had arrived, and they weren't playing gentle. The lead destroyer immediately launched fighters. Dozens of small craft streaking toward alien battle cruisers. The carrier's big guns opened fire, sending rounds the size of small cars hurtling through space at a fraction of light speed. The aliens, caught between the station's stubborn defenders and Earth's arriving fleet, suddenly found themselves in a very bad position. Their commander, realizing the trap he had flown into, ordered a retreat. The battle cruisers began pulling away, trying to get enough distance to jump to faster than light. They didn't make it. The human destroyers closed in like wolves, their weapons tearing into alien ships. 1 battle cruiser exploded in a massive fireball. Another lost its engines and went spinning into space. The third managed to jump away, damaged and trailing atmosphere. The alien troops still on Haven Cross tried to fight their way back to their boarding craft. But now they were the ones trapped, surrounded, desperate. The veterans of Haven Cross, sensing victory, pushed back hard. The corridors became killing grounds as tired but determined soldiers drove the invaders back. Within 30 minutes, it was over. The aliens who could escape fled to their remaining ships. Those who couldn't surrendered, throwing down weapons and raising hands in a universal gesture of defeat. Jake stood in the ruins of his command center, listening to the all-clear signal. Around him, his team was hugging each other, laughing and crying with relief. They had done it. Against everything, against all odds, they had held. Admiral Patricia Hayes arrived on the carrier Valiant to find not wreckage, but a functional station still broadcasting. Still fighting. Someone had turned a simple mining facility into a fortress and held it against forces that should have crushed them in minutes. When she opened communications and saw Jake Morrison's face on her screen, she recognized him immediately. Special Operations Command, veteran of the Europa campaign, hero of the Battle of Titan, one of the most decorated soldiers in Earth's military history. What was he doing commanding a mining station? The answer came 3 hours later when they recovered data from captured alien ships. The aliens called themselves the Kresh Dominion. They had been watching humanity for years, planning an invasion of 50 systems simultaneously, a coordinated strike to eliminate humans before they could become a threat. But Haven Cross changed everything. Word of the battle spread through both human and alien communication channels. 28 veterans had held a station against hundreds of enemies. Cost them time, ships, and most importantly, surprise. High Command made Jake an offer. Take real retirement somewhere safe, or help prepare humanity for the coming war. Establish a warfare academy, teaching the tactics used at Haven Cross, how to turn any station into a fortress, how to fight when outnumbered, how to win against impossible odds. Jake looked at his exhausted team. the wounds they carried, the toll this battle had taken. He also saw determination, pride, the same stubborn refusal to quit that had carried them through worse situations. "When do we start?" he asked. 3 weeks later, Jake Morrison stood in a training facility on Earth, watching 5,000 young soldiers run through combat drills. They came from every branch of the military, every corner of human space, eager, focused, terrified. Word of the coming war had spread like wildfire. These soldiers knew they might be the difference between humanity's survival and extinction. And Jake Morrison, the man who turned a mining station into a legend, would teach them how. Because the Kresh Dominion wanted to crush humanity before it could become a threat. Instead, they reminded every human why their species had survived and thrived across dozens of worlds. They had awakened something that should have been left sleeping. You can retire soldiers from the military. You can send them to remote stations on quiet worlds. You can let them think their fighting days are over. But you can never take the warrior out of them. And when you threaten their people, when you attack their homes, you awaken something unstoppable. The Kresh attacked a remote outpost expecting easy prey. Instead, they discovered Earth's elite veterans, and that discovery would cost them everything. If this story of courage, strategy, and humanity's refusal to surrender inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi stories. What would you do if you were Jake Morrison? Would you come out of retirement to fight again? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, the best stories are the ones we share together. See you in the next one.